almost kidnapped at a theater. When I was about 7 years old, I was at a friend's birthday party. We went to a local cinema with a group of 6 other kids, my friend and her mother. I had to go to the bathroom during the movie, and I told her mom, assuming she'd come with me. Because even then, I knew going places alone as a child could be dangerous. She didn't go with me. I went out to the bathroom alone, and I must mention, this was a small local cinema which was really old and most of the time empty. Not like regular theaters that nowadays always have people bustling about. Well, anyway, on the way to the bathroom, I saw some guy leaning against the sweet/popcorn counter, seemingly with nothing to do. I thought maybe he's just waiting there for his kid to come out of the bathroom or something. Now at this place, the bathroom was one small room, and that was separated into 2 stalls for men and 2 stalls for women. The guy came in about a minute after me. I could see his shadow under the door of the stall I was in. He was walking back and forth outside it. He should have not been over on the woman's side, and no one else was in the bathroom with us, so I started panicking. I stayed in there for a couple of minutes because I was too scared to go out. He eventually left, and I decided to go on back. Now when I walked out of the bathroom, he was standing there, blocking the doorway, standing with his arms and legs spread out like he was ready to grab me and scoop me up. My heart started racing. He was more than twice my size. I was terrified. I thought fast enough to jump through the gap between his legs. I skidded on the carpet and burned my knees, but I got up as fast as I could and ran back to the screen the party was at. Well, I wish it ended here. That night at home, I remember hiding this baby doll I had because I thought the guy was coming back for me, and well, I wanted to protect her. Now, my mom noticed me acting weird and asked what was wrong. I blurted out that a man tried to grab me when I was at the cinema. She kind of brushed it off, but I think she was trying to act like nothing was wrong for my sake. Though I saw in her eyes, she was worried. Later, I heard her and my dad talking, and then she came to ask me what the guy looked like. She asked, did he have a black mustache? He did. Did he have messy hair? He did. But how does she know these things? Turns out that this guy was at our freaking house earlier that day, replacing a window, and he must have heard my mom and I talking about the party. I don't know what he was planning on doing if he grabbed me. Kidnap me? Something else? I'm just glad he didn't. He was just standing there. This happened about a month ago. It was a Saturday, and Saturday mornings always have the same routine. I'd get up. My dad would be either about to leave for work or already gone. My mother would cook me breakfast and then go upstairs to shower. So as she's in the shower, I'm downstairs by myself on my phone. After a few minutes of browsing websites, I glance up for whatever reason and see someone in the far end of my backyard. This actually happens a lot in my neighborhood, with people going in and out of our yard, so I didn't really think much of it and went back down to looking at my phone. However, I realized that this guy wasn't moving. He was just standing in my backyard. If that wasn't bad enough, he was looking into our house. I watch him to see what he's doing. Maybe he just thinks our house is nice. But that was far from the case. As I'm staring at him, he notices me staring at him. He begins to walk to our front door. At first, He was slowly walking, but he then picked up his pace a bit. Now at this point, all sorts of alarms in my head are going off, and I decided that this creeper did not have the best intentions. Now, getting into action, I quickly called my Sheltie into my room, and as soon as he comes in, he spots the man and begins barking his head off. I quickly go to my door, making it look like I'm ready to let the dog out after him, and I guess the guy realizes what I had in mind and took off running. My mother came down about 10 minutes later, but I did not want to freak her out, so I kept the story to myself. The man still hasn't come back around yet, and I'm hoping that it stays that way. So, creepy dude just standing in my backyard, staring into my house. Let's not meet. Let me in. So I've been reading through a lot of terrifying stories here, and I thought I should post one that happened to me. So, this happened to me when I was 13, and I was home alone with my little sister, who was 6 at the time. Now, I was used to being home alone, as my mom always worked evening shifts at her job. I was just upstairs in my room, at my computer just doing random stuff, like talking with my friends, while my little sister was downstairs watching her cartoons. Suddenly, my sister came upstairs and walked over to me. She pulled at my sleeve trying to pull me downstairs. I wasn't that confused, as she usually wanted me to play with her downstairs, but I still decided to ask her what she wanted. "What is it, sis?" She smiled up at me, and the next words she said will forever be stuck in my mind. "There's a man downstairs, and he wants me to come outside." Now I felt my heart stop, and I quickly told her to stay in my room. She looked confused, but nonetheless, she nodded and went to sit on my bed. I used that chance to go downstairs, and right there, looking at me through the window, was some creepy man who waved at me. "Hey, let me in. I came to check on your electricity." Now, my mother always told me to never let strangers into our house when somebody was away, and I wasn't about to go against her wishes, especially when there was this creepy guy standing right there. He was wearing an attire like an electrician would, but his van, a simple black van, not what you would typically see an electrician drive. I looked at the man and then reached for my phone, just in case. "I won't let you in. Go away or I'll call the police." I was sure that he would leave at that point, but he didn't. He just stood there smiling at me. That smile seemed so wrong in my young mind, and to this day, it still does. "Just let me in. I want to help. Beautiful." Now, why would an electrician want to call a little child beautiful? I knew that there was something horribly wrong. I stepped away from the door. I was so glad at that moment that the door had double locks. I felt a bit safer with that, but on the inside, I was still terrified. "No, go away." He started to become irritated, and he just started banging on my door. I was terrified for my life at that point, and not only mine, but also my little sister's. Speaking of her, because of the banging, she came downstairs. I screamed at her to go back up to the room and hide, and I could see the fear in her eyes. She listened to me and ran back upstairs to the room. Now, our neighbors like to get drunk, and our other neighbors were also at work around at that time. I knew that because my little sister usually spent time around there, as the lady living there was always very nice to us. Now, every moment that banging got louder, and then when he started screaming on what he was going to do to me and my sister, that reminded me of something. I had my phone, so I took my phone and I called the police. I screamed at the man that I was calling the police, and that they would be on their way. The man's banging seemed to slow down a bit at that point, but he still didn't stop. Now, once the operator picked up, I started to quickly explain my situation, while almost in tears. They told me that they would be there in 10 minutes. I nodded, and the man seemed to understand his situation now, and I heard his footsteps fade away. I looked outside my window and saw him speed away. I took a breath of relief and went over to my sister. She was crying upstairs, and when she saw me, she hugged me tightly. I sat there and wiped her tears away. I took her by the hand and brought her downstairs with me after I told her that everything was safe. The police arrived a few minutes later, and I explained everything to them. I told them what the guy looked like, and then they asked me for my mother's number. I decided to take my phone and dialed it for them. The police talked to my mom. After that, my mom was there within 15 minutes. She hugged me and my sister tightly. She also thanked the police, and then they left. My mother started to cry while she continued to hug us so tightly. I could see how worried she was, but she praised me and my little sister for being smart, and she took a few days off of work to spend some time with us, and I felt glad that she let herself relax. That experience was definitely the most terrifying experience I have ever had, and I am glad I came out unharmed. I could only guess what that creepy, freaky man wanted. At least me and my little sister got out of that experience just fine. I am so glad we have not had to meet that creepy, so-called company worker again. Somebody was in my dad's apartment. This happened a week ago, and I just decided to share it. To start, I must mention that my parents are separated and live within walking distance of each other. Now that's out of the way, let's begin. I was going to my dad's house to get a spare Xbox controller, as I had a friend over and only had one at my mom's house. I told my friend that I'd be back in 5 minutes and set off into the night. I assumed my dad would be home. It was around 6:30 and he gets off of work at 5. I rang the doorbell. No answer. I waited a minute. Nothing. I decided to go around back and go through the back door. As I go into the alleyway, I got that feeling that nothing good was about to come out of anything that was about to happen. My paranoia got the best of me, and I went back to my mom's house. Now, after my friend calling me a pussy, I grabbed a flashlight and my friend went along with me. As we approached the alley, I turned into it. The light revealed nothing. My friend hit me lightly. We went in and I immediately wanted to leave, and a quick glance at my friend revealed he felt the same. We went inside and went into the living room and got the controller. The staircase to my room is in the living room. I had turned the flashlight off, but had this overwhelming compulsion to turn it back on and shine it at the staircase. Now, when I did, it revealed a man, appearing to be in his 20s with piss yellow teeth smiling at us. He was, I assume, 5 steps up the stairs. I wanted to cry. I was so scared. I wanted to run back, but I was frozen in fear. My friend, bless this moron's heart, shouted, "The fuck you doing here?" The man's smile faded, and he motioned for us to come closer. Yeah, fuck that. We ran out the door and began shouting for help. One person stepped out of their house with a handgun, but the man was nowhere to be seen. As cliche as that sounds, he called the police and they searched the apartment. And well, searched isn't the best word, as they immediately found the man on the staircase leading to my dad's apartment. I have no idea what would have happened if I went down the alley that night. Was he there? What would have happened if I went alone? I don't know. But I'd like to ask the Reddit community or this subreddit for suggestions on getting past this, as I'm still scared by this. I'm not sure if being afraid this long is normal or not.